everyone. It's a family gathering here. It's not a big
Really?
It's a family gathering. Yeah, for Aaron and Leah and Mr. and Mrs. Greges and all the friends over here. My son-in-law Yossi. So, anyways, but we have to say it about Torah every. So we have to say something about Torah. We will say that. So years ago, I did a research. I did it for a different couple originally. It's worth going over it because it's really very interesting research. I decided to look up. Torah talks many times about marriages, so I wanted to see what's going on. What is the Torah? How does the Torah bring it up? So the first marriage is easy. We know Adam and Chava, right? There wasn't very much problems with that shidduch because Chava did not say to Hashem, "Is there anyone else? Maybe it's nice. I went out, but is there anybody else that we could try?" Didn't happen. They knew right away. But one thing was very interesting about Adam and Chava, and it's very important lessons from that. Hashem did not tell Adam, "I'm creating Chava, and therefore this is the job. You have to get married, and you have to have children, and you got to start off the world." Hashem did not say that. Hashem did it in a very interesting way. And if you read the Medrash, what it says, that first Hashem showed Adam all the different animals in the world, all the different creatures in the world, and gave it to him to name the creatures. He had to name them. And as Adam started naming all the creatures, he realized that suddenly that every single creature there's a male and there's a female. And so Adam wanted to know, asked Hashem, "Where's mine? I don't have a match." So, you're asking for a match? Okay, if you're asking for a match, I'm going to give you a match. And the Medrash says, very interesting, that Hashem didn't just say, "Here's Chava, have a nice day." That's not how it worked. Hashem brought Chava down in a chuppah. She was wearing pearls. The malachim were singing. They were making music. You can imagine what kind of music that is. That's some band. They're fantastic. But the malachim were dancing. The malachim were singing, and they were cheering. They were happy. They were in the sameach klasa v'kala. When Adam saw Chava coming up the aisle, he was tremendously excited. It was not. He realized this is a very, very big deal. He wanted Chava. He loved her right away. Once he saw her, she was beautiful. It says that she was wearing pearls and diamonds and all kinds of jewelry that Hashem had to deck her out in. So he was very happy about that. If we go further on, Noah had a wife. It doesn't really mention her too much, except her name in the parsha. By Avram, it stops and it talks about a little bit about Avram's relationship with Sarah, even to the point where Hashem later on, in a couple of parshas later, tells Avram he should listen to Sarah. Don't listen to what she's saying the right thing, follow her advice. So that's how we see that marriage was. Well, we know Avram and Sarah were a tremendous marriage, and we know that they loved each other very, very much. This we know from the Torah. It's open in the Torah. And we also know that they were mekarev hundreds of thousands of people. If you learn the Medrash, they were mekarev hundreds of thousands of people. And they had a huge effect. From their tent, Rabbi Gamliel used to speak about this all the time, how Avram used to give shiurim. His trick was, you came to his tent, he gave you free food, and he would say, if you were the person that got this, he would say, why are you doing this crazy thing of giving free food? Why are you doing that? It doesn't make sense. And Avram would say, because I'm emulating Hashem. And then they would ask, who's Hashem? And then he would start talking about it, and then people would understand who Hashem is. And he convinced them, because he had such kind words, that they all started, they became followers. It says that the Midrashim say that many of the Gerim came from those original followers. That's where while they didn't become Jews right away, they came from those original followers. So, then you have Yitzchak and Rivka. Very interesting, this one. send the guy, Eliezer, send the slave, right? Yitzchak has no idea who he's going to marry. You send the slave. The slave goes off to a far-off land with a bunch of jewelry and everything like that. And the slave says, Hashem, show me some kind of simon for the girl that's correct for Yitzchak. And he sees the simon. She's feeding all the camels and she took care of everything. And he just walks over to her and he says, listen, I want you to come back with me and marry Yitzchak. There's a whole story with Lavan. There's a couple of stories over there. But the end result is they take this young girl and she comes back and she's marrying Yitzchak, who was at that time one of the most famous people in the world. So how do you pitch this? Yitzchak had nothing to do with it. But one thing, picking the girl that he married. But one thing we do know is that
you're busy videoing. So
one thing we do know is that they loved each other very much. Yeah, they loved each other very, very much. Here comes Yaakov. Also crazy story when you think about it. Yaakov is running away from Esau, who's looking to kill him. Finds a hideout. It's a good hideout. First he's in Yeshiva Shem Be'aver for 14 years. What are you doing? What are you doing? He comes in, well, you're acting like a nut. Okay. Oh, he's in a hideout for 14 years. He's learning. Next thing you know, he's going to Lavan, and Lavan, one of the greatest father-in-laws of all time, tells him, "Oh, you want my daughter? Okay, you want Rachel?" First of all, the whole story with the well. It's very interesting. Immediately falls in. He knows that Rachel is the one for him. He wants Rachel. Lavan checks him out, no jewelry, no nothing. Okay, so you want my daughter? You got to work 7 years for her. And he says, okay. Yaakov says, all right. No arguments. He works 7 years. They come to the night of the chuppah, and the whole town is in on this great trick. They're by the chuppah, they're chanting, Leah, Leah, because they all know that Lavan switched the girl. That's in Rashi, it's not, they all know that Lavan switched the girl. And then, sure enough, instead of marrying Rachel, he marries Leah. This is one of the craziest marriages you ever saw. So the big question is, the next morning he gets up, he doesn't see Rachel, he sees Leah, right? So why did he stay married to her? Not only did he stay married to her, but he agrees. Lavan says, okay, in another 7 days, when the Shemarach is over, you can marry Rachel, but you have to agree to work another 7 years for her. He should have said, what do you mean? You gave her to me for free. I don't have to work for Rachel another 7 years. Who told you to switch girls on me? Who told you to do that? So really, the crazy question is, why did Yaakov agree to work another 7 years for Rachel? It didn't make sense. He worked already 7 years for Rachel. So now, really, if he did that, that means the first 7 years, he worked 7 years for Leah also. So what does that mean? The answer was this Svarim that write about this. They ask this crazy question. It makes a lot of sense. Why did Yaakov say, okay, you want to give me 2 for 1? Fine. If it's free, I'll take 2. But what he did was he actually worked, and what happened? It says, when Yaakov woke up the next morning, Leah's dead. Leah's dead. And Yaakov was very angry. What are you doing here? You took the semanim from Rachel, you took all the things, and you went to avoid to have this kind of trip, and now you're sitting here in the room and you got married to me and you let this all happen? How do you let this happen? So Leah had an answer. It wasn't it. She had an answer. She told Yaakov, you know what? I learned from a master to do this thing. I learned from a master. Who's the master? You, Yaakov, you're the master. So she says, when did you hear that I was lying? What happened? He says, your father wanted to give the brachas to Esau. You put on Esau's skin. You took sheep from your mother to prepare it to get in before Esau got in, and you took all the brachas. If you were allowed to do that for such a good thing, I was allowed to do that so I don't have to marry Esau and I can have a good husband too. Why did Yaakov accept that? Because Yaakov realized that the whole reason, one of the reasons why Hashem made him do this trick in order to get the prophets was so that Leah could give him an answer. And then he realized this is not a simple thing, this is from Hashem. And if it's from Hashem, then it's correct to work another 7 years for Rachel. It's correct to do that, that when Lavan asks you, it's a good thing to do. And you see that it was such a correct thing that most of the Shvatim, or half of the Shvatim, came from Leah, which is, you see, Hashem's prophet. So the question is, Torah's got all these crazy marriage stories, right? I mean, if you really think about it, during the 7 years that Yaakov was working, his father-in-law was cheating him. First the spotted sheep, then the striped sheep, then the spotted, striped. What's going on? And Yaakov was carving sticks so that the sheep should see certain things, that they should give birth. What was going on? What's going on? So the answer is that no matter, there's many ways that you can read the Torah. Even David HaMelech, their stories, it keeps on going. But especially in Chumash Bereshis, it keeps on going. There's many ways that people meet, and there's many ways that it's bashert for people to meet. This is what Hashem does. It says after Hashem created the world, so what is Hashem doing after the 7 days that He created the world? It says in the Gemara, He's creating shidduchim. He's arranging for different ways to meet each other, and it's not a simple thing as it seems. It's not at all a simple thing as it seems. So how you meet, how you get together, it doesn't really matter, the story. It's what you do afterwards, that you go in the Derech Torah, you build a family, everybody has to know that when you're Jewish, you have a certain treasure, you have a history. There's a big history where you come from. You come from Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. You come from the people who went to Mitzrayim, who had Nisim done to them. That's plus, just coming from Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, that's a plus that can carry us all the way through the Torah. But you have to cling to it a little bit. You have to always acknowledge it. Baruch Hashem, they acknowledge this, and they're doing some great things. And the Mirz Hashem, they're going to build a house together, and they're going to make everyone over here proud. And we should be also like Avraham Avinu, Ahava, Rabba. We should always know that the way to treat children is with Ahava, not the Shragai will come up, which also I always say it. Noah, he told everyone that the whole world was going to die. And he had no customers, not one Baal Tshuva in Parshas Noah. You see a Baal Tshuva in Parshas Noah? Did someone say, maybe I don't want to take the chance that Hashem should kill me? There isn't one. Not a single guy got convinced. It took Noah 120 years to build the Teva in the middle of the most popular city in the world. Nobody said, Noah, you know what, maybe I want to do Tshuva. Take me along. Yet, Abraham, sitting in the desert, hundreds of thousands of people. Rosh Hashanah will come and said, that's the reason. That's enough. When you want to convince somebody, if you tell them you're going to die if you don't do this, that's not a sale. No sale. But if you say, I love you, and I want you to do good, and I want you to understand what Hashem is, and it takes time. It doesn't happen instantly. Then you can have hundreds of thousands of followers like Avraham Avinu. So Mirz Hashem, I know Aaron and Leah for a while already, and they're not strangers here. It's family really. Baruch Hashem, they have very good hearts. They do things for people, and they love people, and they're very, very good, and they deserve our love, full and everything. And in Mirz Hashem, they should be zaychus to build Bayis Ne'eman B'Yisrael, and to always have simcha, always carry the simcha that you're starting off right now, to carry it with you into the future. Simcha, B'Ahava Rabba, and you should have, the Torah always says, when we make the bracha, we say, Gan Eden Mikedem. Why? Because Chava never had a doubt that Adam was supposed to be her husband. Adam never had. That's the biggest symptom. Sometimes people get married and they say, maybe there's someone else. Am I settling? Am I having? Adam never had this issue. Chava never had this issue. And there were malachim, and Hashem was at the wedding. So the answer is Hashem is by every wedding. It's meant to be. It's bashert. And Baruch Hashem, you're married right now. So you're buying now, so you Yisrael. And we should all see good things from you.
Amen.
All right.